September 17th, 1862. A sunken farm road in Maryland. By noon, this lane will earn a name that will echo through eternity. 23,000 men will fall in a single day, the bloodiest day in American history. But this isn't just a story about numbers. This is about the moment America lost its innocence, the moment brother fired upon brother, and the moment a nation realized there would be no easy end to its original sin. By 1862, America is tearing itself apart. 18 months of war have shattered the illusion that this conflict would end quickly. Bull Run, Shiloh, the Peninsula Campaign, each battle more brutal than the last. President Lincoln knows he needs a victory, not just military, but moral. He's prepared the Emancipation Proclamation, a document that will redefine the war itself, but he cannot issue it from a position of weakness. He needs blood. He needs triumph. He needs Antietam. Robert E. Lee, the brilliant Confederate commander, has a different calculation. He will invade the North. He will bring the war to Union soil. He will force Lincoln's hand. Maryland, a border state with Southern sympathies, seems ripe for the taking. What Lee doesn't know is that fate is about to intervene in the most improbable way imaginable. September 13th, 1862. An Indiana corporal named Barton Mitchell is resting in a field near Frederick, Maryland. In the grass, he finds something peculiar: 3 cigars wrapped in paper. But this isn't ordinary paper. This is Special Order 191, Robert E. Lee's complete battle plan. Every position, every movement, every vulnerability of the Army of Northern Virginia laid bare. The odds of this discovery? Astronomical. One scholar calculated it as equivalent to winning the lottery while being struck by lightning. McClellan, the cautious Union commander, now holds his enemy's playbook. Lincoln telegrams him, "Destroy the rebel army if possible." But McClellan, ever hesitant, moves slowly. Lee learns his plans have been compromised. Now both armies race toward a small Maryland town called Sharpsburg and a sunken road that farmers call the Lane. 75,000 Union soldiers, 38,000 Confederates. Many are teenagers. Some are in their first battle. Others are veterans who've already seen hell at places like Bull Run and Seven Pines. They carry letters from home, photographs of sweethearts, Bibles with family names inscribed inside. They march through Maryland's late summer heat, not knowing that many will never see autumn. On September 16th, they take their positions. Lee's back is literally against a river, the Potomac, with only one ford for escape. It's a desperate position, but Lee is betting everything on the fighting spirit of his men and the timidity of his opponent. McClellan has numerical superiority, but moves like a man afraid of his own shadow. The stage is set. Tomorrow, September 17th, the sun will rise on America's bloodiest day. 5:30 a.m. Artillery opens fire. The Battle of Antietam begins not at the Sunken Road, but in a 30-acre cornfield owned by a farmer named David Miller. Union General Joseph Hooker sends his men forward in waves. Confederate troops under Stonewall Jackson hide in the corn, waiting. When they rise and fire, it's like the earth itself erupts in violence. A Union officer will later write, "Every stalk of corn was cut down by gunfire as closely as a knife could have done it." In 2 hours, this cornfield changes hands 15 times. 2,500 men fall here. The corn, once green and gold, is painted red. But this is only the beginning. The cornfield is a diversion. The real slaughter, the killing ground that will define this day, waits 3/4 of a mile south. The Sunken Road. For decades, wagon wheels and weather have worn this farm lane deeper than the surrounding fields, in some places 2 feet below grade. It's nothing special, just a connector between farms. But on September 17, 1862, these 2 feet of elevation become the difference between life and death. Confederate General D.H. Hill recognizes immediately what he has: a natural trench.
He positions 2,500 men here. They don't have to dig. Nature has already done the work. Behind the road, the land rises slightly. In front, open ground slopes gently away for 300 yards. Any Union soldier attacking this position will be completely exposed. Hill's men can rest their rifles on the lip of the road, fire, duck down to reload. It's a perfect killing machine, and it's about to be tested like no defensive position in the history of warfare. 9:30 a.m. Union General Edwin Sumner orders the attack. Leading the assault is the Irish Brigade, men with names like Maher, Cloney, and Kelly, Irish immigrants who volunteered to fight for their adopted country. They wear sprigs of boxwood in their caps, green flags flying. 63,000 Irish-born men will fight for the Union during the war. Today, hundreds of them will die in a Maryland lane. They advance across those 300 yards of open ground in perfect formation. It's magnificent. It's suicidal. Confederate rifles open fire. The first volley drops 60 men. The brigade doesn't break. They press forward, 100 yards, 50 yards. The air itself seems made of lead. Men fall in heaps. A soldier's last thought might be of County Cork or Boston or the girl he left behind. They get to within 30 yards before the survivors finally break and run. The Irish Brigade goes into the attack with 1,000 men. They emerge with 505. In 20 minutes, they've suffered a 50% casualty rate, but they've barely dented the Confederate line. The Sunken Road holds. Attack, repulse, retreat, reform, attack again. This is the rhythm of hell. For nearly 4 hours, Union brigades hurl themselves at the Sunken Road. The 29th Massachusetts, the 5th New Hampshire, the 132nd Pennsylvania. In their first battle, they lose a third of their men in minutes. Each attack follows the same pattern. Men advance in neat lines. Confederate fire erupts. The lines dissolve into chaos. The survivors retreat, leaving their dead and wounded in windrows across the field. A Confederate soldier will later recall, "I fired my musket until it became so hot I could no longer hold it. The barrel turned blue from the heat." Another writes, "They came on with a determination that seemed to say, 'This position must be ours,' but we had determined otherwise." The Sunken Road has become what soldiers will call the Hornet's Nest and Bloody Lane. Bodies are piling so thick that the living use them for cover. Around 1 p.m., Union General Israel Richardson studies the Confederate line through his field glasses. He's a hard man, a veteran. His men call him Fighting Dick, and Richardson sees what others have missed. The Sunken Road doesn't run straight, it bends. At one point, the Confederate line angles away, creating a vulnerable salient. If he can position artillery to fire down the length of the road, he brings up guns, not to fire across the road, but down its length, enfilade fire. Every cannonball will tear through the Confederate line like a scythe. The men in the Sunken Road suddenly realize they're trapped in a ditch with nowhere to hide. What was their greatest advantage becomes their death trap. Panic spreads. A Confederate officer gives an order to retreat, but in the noise and confusion, it's misunderstood as a general withdrawal. The line breaks. When Union soldiers finally overrun the Sunken Road, they find a sight that will haunt them forever. Bodies are stacked 2 and 3 deep. In some places, you can walk the length of the lane, several hundred yards, and never touch the ground, only corpses. The road runs red with blood, literally red. This is not poetic license. Multiple witnesses describe the road as a flowing stream of blood. Alexander Gardner, a photographer, will arrive 2 days later. His photographs of Confederate dead in Bloody Lane will become some of the most famous and disturbing images of the Civil War. When displayed in New York, they shock a nation that has never seen war's true face. But Gardner's camera shows only a fraction of the horror. He cannot capture the smell, the sounds of the wounded, the prayers and curses, the boys crying for their mothers. 5,500 men, Union and Confederate, are killed, wounded, or captured at the Sunken Road in approximately 4 hours. The Confederates lose over half their defending force, but the Union price is staggering too. For what? 800 yards of farm road. While Bloody Lane is falling, 3 miles south another drama unfolds. Union General Ambrose Burnside spends 3 hours trying to cross a simple stone bridge over Antietam Creek. 400 Georgia riflemen hold off 12,000 Union soldiers. When Burnside finally breaks through, it's 3 p.m. Lee's entire right flank is exposed. The Army of Northern Virginia is on the verge of complete destruction. Then, from the south, dust rises. It's A.P. Hill's division. They've marched 17 miles from Harper's Ferry. 3,000 fresh Confederate troops slam into Burnside's exposed flank. The Union advance collapses. By nightfall, both armies are too exhausted, too bloodied to continue. The battle ends not with victory or defeat, but with mutual exhaustion. September 18th. The sun rises on a battlefield transformed into a nightmare. 23,000 casualties in 12 hours of fighting. 6,000 dead, killed outright or died of wounds. To put this in perspective, D-Day, 82 years later, will see approximately 10,000 Allied casualties across all beaches. Antietam's casualties are confined to a few square miles of Maryland farmland. The wounded overflow every building in Sharpsburg, churches, barns, private homes. Surgeons work in assembly line fashion, sawing off shattered limbs and tossing them in piles. The chloroform runs out. Men bite on bullets. This is the origin of that phrase. Screams carry for miles. Farmers will find bodies in their cornfields for years. Bones still turn up today during plowing season. The Confederate Army retreats across the Potomac on the night of September 18th. McClellan doesn't pursue, another cautious failure. Lee has lost a quarter of his army, but he's escaped destruction. It's a tactical draw, but strategically, it's enough. Barely. 5 days later, September 22, 1862, President Lincoln calls his cabinet together. He reads them a document he's been waiting to issue, waiting for a victory. Antietam, however slim, is that victory. The Emancipation Proclamation. Effective January 1, 1963, all enslaved people in rebel states will be declared free. It's limited. It doesn't free enslaved people in border states. It's more symbolic than immediately practical, but it transforms the war from a conflict about union into a war about freedom. European powers, particularly Britain, which had been considering recognizing the Confederacy, now cannot, not without appearing to endorse slavery. The blood shed at Antietam, particularly in that Sunken Road, has purchased something precious: moral clarity. Frederick Douglass, the great abolitionist, understands immediately. He writes, "We shout for joy that we live to record this righteous decree. 4 million enslaved people now have hope. The boys who died in Bloody Lane, Union and Confederate, died in the last great battle where the war was only about territory and politics. After this, it's about something larger." Here's the mystery that haunts us across the centuries. After the Irish Brigade was slaughtered, after 5,500 men fell in a sunken road, after the horror of that September day, why did any soldier ever attack again? Why not refuse? Why not retreat? Why not say, "No more"? The answers are in their letters. Duty, honor, belief that their cause was just, whether that cause was preserving the Union or defending their homeland. Brotherhood with the men beside them. Fear of cowardice. One Union soldier writes, "I do not want to be shot, but if I must be, let it be in the front, advancing." A Confederate writes, "I would rather die 1,000 deaths than yield an inch." They were terrified, but something in 19th century American culture valued honor more than survival. Or perhaps the answer is simpler and darker. Once you've seen your friends die, the only way to make their deaths meaningful is to keep fighting. To stop would be to admit they died for nothing. And so the war ground on for 3 more years. 650,000 more dead.
Today, Bloody Lane is a National Historic Site. Thousands walk it every year. It's peaceful now. Grass grows where men died in heaps. Birds sing where screams once echoed. But something lingers here. Ask any ranger, any visitor who stays until dusk. There's a weight to this ground. History has mass. Antietam represents something essential about America. We fought ourselves to the brink of extinction over what kind of nation we would be, free or slave, united or divided. The question was settled here, and at Gettysburg, and Atlanta, and Appomattox. But the price was blood, rivers of it. Bloody Lane is where we can still see the receipt. Every name on every monument here represents a universe. Someone's son, someone's husband, someone's father who never came home. The letters they wrote are in archives now. The photographs are faded. But they were here. They bled here. They died here, believing it mattered. America went into September 17, 1862 with illusions. That war was glorious. That battles were romantic. That causes, however just, were worth any price. We emerged from that day different, harder, sadder. We had seen what modern warfare could do. We had learned that righteousness doesn't protect you from bullets. We had discovered that courage and horror can exist in the same heart at the same moment. Bloody Lane is where American innocence died. Not because we lost that day. We didn't quite. But because we won through butchery. Because we learned that freedom has a price that must sometimes be paid in full. Because 23,000 young men discovered that history doesn't care about your dreams or your fears or the girl waiting for you back home. The lane is quiet now. Walk it. Stand where they stood. Try to imagine 300 men dying around you in an hour. You can't. None of us can. But we must try. Because they were us. And what they died for, that impossible idea that all people are created equal, is still not fully realized. Their work isn't finished. Neither is ours. Antietam National Battlefield is open to visitors year-round. Walk Bloody Lane. Stand at Burnside Bridge. Visit the Dunker Church. Read the names. Each September 17th at 9:30 a.m., a ceremony is held at Bloody Lane to honor those who fell. The Sunken Road is still there, exactly as it was. History is not distant. It's beneath our feet, and it's calling us to remember.